U.S. President Donald Trump warned Iran not to retaliate, but Iran did. And today, it fired a barrage of missiles at a U.S. military base in Qatar after the U.S. bombed key nuclear sites in Iran over the weekend. President Trump met with his national security team today to consider next steps. And the CBC's Katie Simpson joins us now live from Washington. Katie, just a week ago, President Trump said he had to leave the G7 early to deal with what was happening in the Middle East, and here we are. What is the president saying today?
He posted online, "Congratulations, world, it's time for peace." So that is where Donald Trump's head is at after spending much of his day in a national security meeting. Once it appeared Iran's response attack was over, Trump posted on social media. It's a long post, and he described Iran's response as, quote, very weak. He says no Americans or Qataris were harmed and that there was hardly any damage, adding, he says, most importantly, they've gotten it all out of their system, which seems to mean he thinks Iran's response is over, it's done. Again, it's a lengthy post. Trump also says he's hopeful there will be no further hate, and he actually thanked Iran for giving a heads up to the U.S. in advance of the attack so that no lives were lost. So in this moment, it seems there could be a moment for an off-ramp or some de-escalation, which is in line with what the Trump administration was aiming for. They've been trying to frame the U.S. strikes as sort of a one and done. Members of Trump's cabinet saying the U.S. is not at war with Iran, saying civilians were not targeted and neither was the military. And they're trying to compare it to the 2020 U.S. attack that killed the Iranian military commander Qasem Soleimani, which at the time prompted a similar Iranian response. Though the U.S. message has been muddled, David, after the vice president, the defense secretary, and the secretary of State, they all went out on American cable news yesterday and they said, listen, this is not about regime change. And then hours later, Trump floated that same idea that it could be about regime change on social media.
Yeah, so walk us through the larger political response in the U.S., because there's a lot of flashbacks to George W. Bush going on here right now. What's the conversation like in the U.S.?
Yeah, for the most part, the response among lawmakers falls along partisan lines. Memes are going crazy, someone calling it a Timu Bush administration, that kind of thing. But when it comes to the very serious response on Capitol Hill, Democrats are demanding evidence to support the decision to target Iran. In this moment, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a prominent Democrat, said Trump's actions are grounds for impeachment and that there's some backlash among Trump's MAGA base as well. Look at this post from Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. She is a strong voice in the MAGA movement. It says, only 6 months in and we're back into foreign wars, regime change, and World War III. It feels like a complete bait and switch to please the neocons, warmongers, military-industrial complex contracts, and the neocon TV personalities that MAGA hates and who are never Trumpers. Remember, Trump campaigned as a peacemaker, vowing to keep the U.S. out of foreign wars. Though some establishment Republicans, they are very strongly in support of Donald Trump's decision. Have a listen to House Speaker Mike Johnson.
There's been so much talk ranging from AOC suggesting this is an impeachable offense, which is just absolute nonsense, to people suggesting that Congress should dither over this. Look, the Commander-in-Chief has Article 2 responsibilities. They're very serious and important, especially in times like this. I think he used that authority judiciously. I think this Commander-in-Chief means what he says what he means, and he's trying to protect American assets and personnel.
Lawmakers are expected to get a briefing on Capitol Hill this week, and that's where some of those questions about what it is that made the Trump administration take this action in this moment, where there might be some answers around that.
Okay, Katie, thank you so much. That's the CBC's Katie Simpson in Washington.